Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. So no doubt by now you've seen the Jeff Kaplan AMA where he answered a lot of questions about a lot of things. We want to highlight this question in today's video. Hey Jeff, what are your thoughts on Winston's current state in the game? Jeff answered, I'm looking forward to seeing how the barrier changes play out on the PTR once they go live. We've seen that Winston in the hands of the right player like Miro, for example, can be amazing. I think going too overboard with Winston's buff on the eve of Orisa's release is not wise, so we need to proceed with caution here. We don't want barriers or tanks getting a little bit out of hand. Winston is the least picked hero, in case you were wondering. Now this has been something that we've wanted to talk about for quite some time, with the PTR changes for Winston being that the cooldown starts on his barrier as soon as it's placed down instead of when it dies. We wanted to look at the viability of this hero, with more dive comps being used, but also whether Orisa was going to cause some issues in terms of Winston's viability. Now me and Miska play a lot of Winston ourselves, but we thought we'd get one of the best Winston players in the world in XQC, who pretty much only plays Winston in ranked at this point and streams a hell of a lot of it as well. We thought we'd ask what he thought about the whole situation, and get some tips on how to play our favourite scientist. So before we talk about the new hero, Orisa, the changes on the PTR for Winston, I just wanted to get your opinion on where is Winston now? Is he a bit off meta? Is Reinhardt just better in every sense? Like, where does Winston stand currently?
I think the fact that Roadhog got nerfed quite a bit, and the fact that we don't see Reaper at all, I think Winston is a very, very good spot where he can do a lot and stay alive, which is the most important part with Winston. It's staying alive, that even when Orisa comes out, he's still going to be extremely relevant, and I think that right now, he's in the most relevant spot he's been in a long time.
It often seems to be, like, you are a tank player for Denial, you predominantly play Reinhardt in your scrims and for the team, but you liberally use Winston in your unranked games, so much so that you're sort of like #1 Winston, one of the main Winston players that are on Twitch. Are people just sort of afraid to play Winston a little bit, do you feel?
I think not. I think people are not only scared to play him, but they don't know how efficient he can be, even on defense. Against a lineup like against a Genji or Hanzo, you're gonna want to contest the high ground, and Winston's very good at that. And if they don't have like a Roadhog, well, Winston can do whatever he wants pretty much, and he's very hard to stop, and he can put a lot of pressure. And people are afraid of being killed or being shut down, but in many cases, many maps and many different points, you can play Winston freely and do so much for your team. And he's very, very unexpected. You can be very creative with the character.
Like, what do you see when you're playing Winston with other people playing Winston? What do they do wrong? What are the common mistakes that people make playing this hero? Because it's very easy to go, oh, no aim, no brain with Winston, but he's surprisingly quite difficult to get your head around. So I wanted to know what you commonly see with mistakes with Winston.
I think it would be to go too fast without the team. Okay, the thing about Winston is that he doesn't do a lot of damage, right? So normally you want some follow-up because you want to either finish kills or let your team finish the kills. He doesn't do enough damage for you to do like a lot of solo kills. So people, I think, go too fast and they don't go with their team and they trickle in. So they don't get what they're looking for. They want the kills in the back, but they go too fast, so no one comes with them, and they just die without doing anything. Another big mistake is the bubble. People misuse the bubble very much. They have no idea how to use it. Normally the bubble is used to split the team in half, block the healing, or for you to survive long enough in the back to get some kills. And I think a lot of Winstons, they're inefficient in the way that they just they die without applying anything, any pressure or any damage. Because I think there's a big thing about Overwatch that people don't understand is that your team needs some space and they need to be comfortable when they walk in through a choke or whatever. Winston creates that. When he walks in, they're like, you know, if their whole team is like running towards you, well, your team can just walk in. And let's say for a McCree, it's extremely valuable for him to just be able to move around and do whatever he wants, you know? And like a Zarya to be like, okay, I'm only focusing my mind on damaging and on, you know, on hitting my shots. I don't have to strafe or get away or, you know, focus on anything else. And I think it's like a small important part of Winston is like knowing when to do that and to actually do that. If you do like those two things combined, that's why like sometimes dying as Winston is actually a very, very good move. It's not a mistake to die. I think sometimes dying is like, it's just part of the game, and you'll just win points and win fights by doing it.
I guess it's similar to how tanks work in World of Warcraft. You have a lot of mitigation there, but the idea is to make sure that the focus is on you more than anybody else.
Yeah, I think that's like a big thing that people are scared of in this game. Like even with a lot of characters, I think that's why like I'm able to climb with like any character, even when if I have bad aim. It's just sometimes even if I know like I'm not gonna hit the shots here, I'm just gonna try to draw the attention and put them in the spot I wanted them to be.
So we got some changes on the PTR. Winston's head's a little bit smaller, but the cooldown on his shield has changed that it starts immediately instead of when the shield dies. Are these changes enough to sort of help Winston with his viability? And if he needs more, what does he need?
Well, that's a good question. I think that it's extremely good and it's a good step forward, but it's not quite enough. Winston needs something else, which I can't really put my finger on. It's too hard for just a player to say, hey, we need this, because it can break the game basically. It makes you less scared to use it, because right now it seems like an extremely big cooldown and you always like keep it for crucial moments.
What is Winston's biggest problem here? Because we have a new tank on the way. We'll speak about her a little bit later on. But you also have all of these other tanks that do similar jobs. You've got D.Va, which is a much more aggressive, diving kind of character. You've got Reinhardt with a much bigger shield and much more consistent damage blocking. What's Winston's problem in this situation?
The thing about Winston is that he's always in or out, and he has to be very close to do some damage. So the only defensive mechanism you have with the character is the bubble. So when you jump in, well, you have a flat cooldown on your jump, which is 6 seconds. So when you're in, it's very hard for you to be out. You can only be out in 6 seconds. So in that sort of time frame, the enemy team can break your bubble and kill you very, very easily. That's why Roadhog is such a counter, because he can just break the bubble in 2 hits or with his team, and he can hook you and kill you. That's why Reaper isn't so big of a counter to Winston, because when you jump, you can just put your bubble, and you can start sort of playing in and out of your bubble, and he's going to want to focus you or the bubble, and he's going to make mistakes with his shots, and at the end of the 6 seconds, you can just jump out, and it's pretty free. Except against a Roadhog, he can just hook you when you jump out, so there's really no escape at that point. So that's how Winston feels right now, is that sometimes you're in, and as you want to go out, there's just no escape. You're just dead. And it's like a death sentence. It's like so hard to do a lot with the character without dying. You always end up dying. That's the big thing. And you have to use your ult to get out. As with D.Va, you can just get in like not too close, because you can hit with long range. Not like Winston, who has a very short range gun. And then if she's in trouble, she can use her matrix to get out and stuff like that. Or Ren can use his shield to get out. Well, with Winston, that's the luxury he doesn't have.
A lot of people are saying that because Orisa's here, Winston takes a big hit with like his viability. Would you agree? Would you say that they're two completely different characters and don't really serve the same purpose? Or do they actually work well together in a sense?
It's very, very hard to say from here, because we haven't played her in scrims. But from my perspective, I think if anything, Orisa is going to make Winston even more relevant. This might come as a shock to a lot of people, but the thing about Orisa is that she's very, very slow. And for me, she looks like she's going to be an off tank because she's extremely weak. Only 400 HP with 200 armor. Extremely weak and easily like flanked. The thing is, I think the fact that if Orisa is going to be picked, there's going to be a lot of diver comp that people are going to play. I'll be playing, because if she's so slow and her bubble can only cover like one big angle, then people are going to start like jumping with Tracer, Genji, and Winston, going all the way behind them, because yeah, like I said, she's very, very slow, and I don't know, she seems so hard to fit. Like I don't understand why they came up with the character. Like I just don't see her anywhere. Like,
you think she's just not gonna fit in?
Yeah, she just doesn't. Like I don't understand. Like she has like a good, like nice shield, like her E is like super, like it looks good or whatnot, but people right now are running Diver Comp already, and Diver Comp is hard to punish. So Orisa's not gonna help with that at all. She's very vulnerable right now. I would say that Diver Comp is very, very prominent in the meta, and Orisa doesn't help with any of that, like at all. Tracer can go behind her shield. Winston can shoot through her shield. Genji can just dash through her, and there's not much you can do about it when we jump on her. If you jump on her, all she has is her shift, which blocks a little bit of damage, or she takes a little less damage, but she really has no answer to dive comp at all. I don't see her fitting too much, and I think that she's, if anything, she's gonna make Winston even more prominent in the meta.
So a good thing that Evie brought up when I spoke to him about Mercy and her viability was that she struggled because of how prominent Anna was in the meta when it came to support, like being main supports in that sense. Is it other heroes causing the problems for Winston? Is it the fact that Reinhardt's too good? Maybe he needs nerfing? Does Winston need buffing? Like, where do you see him currently? Do you think that he needs a bit more, or do other heroes like Roadhog that might be hard countering him, stuff like that, do they need less?
Okay, so that's a very, very good question actually. The thing is that right now we see a lot of 3 tanks, right? Reinhardt, Zarya, and Roadhog together, and Winston doesn't really fit in any of those slots, because Reinhardt enables your team to walk in pretty much because he walks with the barrier forward, and then Zarya and Hog have a really good combo together and they just fit well. But when you put a Winston with a Reinhardt, it doesn't really make sense, because the Reinhardt is very he's slow and he walks with your team, and then Winston just jumps in way too fast, and it kind of breaks the pace of the game pretty much. He just doesn't. You have to play a diver comp with Winston, otherwise he just doesn't fit. He doesn't fill the role of anyone. He fits his own, if you know what I mean. He fits something that no other tank can do in a diver comp scenario, but in a standard comp, pretty much everything he does can be replaced or done better by you know, like the Hog or the Zarya. The thing about like the Mercy thing is like what you said, it was like super intelligent. I think it's pretty true. Yeah, Winston doesn't have his spot in the 3-2-1 or in a 2-2-2. He's just so bad. But when you're running like some sort of diver comp, yeah, now he becomes like super good.
I guess we could talk a little bit about diver comp to end on then. It's something that we're seeing a lot more from the very few tournaments that we've seen over the past couple of months in NA and EU. We've seen a lot of triple DPS dive. Is it really the new triple tank, would you say? Is it really something that in your scrims you're constantly playing against or playing with? Or is it just one strategy that might be able to be used, as opposed to a new way of playing the game almost?
Well, in solo queue or in competitive mode, in Overwatch in general, in solo queue, it's way harder for you to do that with just random people. It's like basically impossible. Having a good focus and good communication with random strangers like on the fly is just not gonna happen. And these comps are much harder to coordinate, because diver comp is very fragile. You're gonna die in a couple of seconds as you go in. Normally you would want to go target by target without dying. Well, now it's just basically impossible because you're going to be desynchronized.
You know, when NIP started running triple tanks as a strategy, and then it became really prominent with the Diva picks, and then it started trickling down into like our own competitive games, do you see when there are more tournaments and people start using this more and more, do you think it's going to be somewhat similar with dive? Do you think that it's going to be the new triple tank meta in that sense? That it's just going to be a new way to pretty much only way to play the game?
Personally, from my perspective, I don't see dive becoming too present in solo queue or just in Overwatch in general. I think that diver comp, or just a dive with the triple DPS, like you said, like with NIP, is something way too hard to pull off on the fly. And I think it's
you had a little bit more security with triple tanks because you had a lot more sustain.
Yeah, but it's just you have a lot more margin of error basically. If anything goes wrong, you can just walk 2 feet back and have your N8 and your full HP and just, okay, let's try again. But with diver comp, like the thing is that when you're in, there's nowhere out. You're all the way in and you're going for kills, and at that point you need to coordinate one by one. And in solo queue, that just doesn't happen. It just won't ever happen ever. Like, it's way too hard.
When all's said and done, we've got people who watch these videos. Would you recommend to them, say for example I play a lot of Reinhardt, would you recommend to me that now's the time to pick up Winston and to play him more? Or do you think that he needs a lot more, that like the game overall needs a bit more change, Winston needs buffing, other people need nerfing? Is now a good time to sort of pick up and learn Winston? Or would you say to just sort of leave it and play something else?
in the last couple months, this is the best time to start playing him because Rodog isn't as, you know, it isn't as good as he used to be. And in maps like King of the Hill, you can do so much with the character that you wouldn't with like another character you would play. And I think it's I think he really needs to be learned a little more and be played even more. And on maps like Numbani and maps like Route 66, he can do so much for your team, and he doesn't really like require a lot of practice to be good at. Just gotta play him a little bit and learn him. And I think right now he's in a very, very good spot.
What maps are pure Winston maps? Like, you definitely are gonna go, as opposed to like ifs and buts. Like, what map do you see and then go, yep, this is Winston, easy?
Well, with Winston, you want to contest the high ground most of the times, and you want to single people out. So, for myself, I would say that Winston is very, very good on like Hollywood first and second point, Route 66 first and second again. On Numbani first, he's extremely good. Dorado first, Dorado second. Gibraltar first and second again, incredible. And the 2CP maps, the 2CP, the 2 capture points maps, I would say that he's very good on all the first points. And if anything, I think the best way to play Winston is going to be on control maps. So King of the Hill. He's extremely good on these maps, especially on Oasis.
Usually at the end of master videos we ask like, what's your biggest tip in improving in the game? I just wanted to know what you thought your biggest tip was to improve in Overwatch, but also as well how to improve at Winston.
Don't get discouraged. Winston's a character that when you start playing him, he's going to feel very under-rewarding. He's not going to give you much. You're always going to die and you won't get a lot of kills. But if you put a lot of playtime with the character and you really try your hardest, I think you're going to find a niche, and you're going to find a lot of enjoyment and a lot of reward playing him.
So overall, I guess you'd say strong pick, sort of coming into his stride a lot, but still needs further improvement.
Yes, I think that in that sort of mentality, I think that it's hard to one-trick Winston. I think he doesn't fit everywhere, and if you're gonna one-trick, like if you're gonna be like a tank main, I think that you would want to play Reinhardt and Winston, because sometimes you're gonna need the Reinhardt, but in other times, Reinhardt can be replaced by the Winston. On stuff like maybe first point Numbani, like I said earlier. That first point Numbani, playing Reinhardt is very, very hard because of the verticality effect. And with Winston, you can set the pace to the game. And that's invaluable. That's like, it's worth so much.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. I did forget to ask where people can find XQC, or at least more information on him. You can find his Twitch at twitch.tv/XQCOW, lot of letters there. And there's a strong chance that he's probably streaming right now as this video goes live. So do check the link in the description below. Check him out and tell him that we said hi. But let us know what you think of Winston in the comments below. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.